Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dawn of Drones podcast. I'm Dawn Zoldi, your host and the CEO of P3 Tech Consulting. I'm live here actually in Austin, Texas at a conference called Move America, all about mobility. It's really an interesting, it's been an interesting couple of days, but sitting here in my hotel, so not my normal background, and we are so pleased to continue this month. Actually, we're ending this month with this show. It's an incredible month of market use cases. And what better way to end it? You know, by the way, thank you, Global Aero Management Group, Prestige Air Group, for sponsoring this entire month. And what better way to end it with counter UAS? Now, some of you may be thinking, how's counter UAS a drone market use case? And what I would suggest to you is there is no drone market without counter UAS because we have to protect the skies. So absolutely. And we have with us here Gabriel Bendheim. He is with D-Fend Solutions. He is the guy that is boots on the ground, putting these tactical, these mobile and stationary systems out there. And we're so excited to have you with us, Gabriel.
Hi, pleasure to be here.
So for those that follow the show, this is actually part two of a three-part series with D-Fend. And if you missed the first one with Asaf Mansa, Asaf is the CTO and co-founder of D-Fend Solutions. Check that out on demand on DroneLife TV on YouTube. We'll drop that link for you to watch it after the show. But it's a great series, and we're going to really be talking about that kind of boots on the ground, you know, how this is really working out there. So let's just get right to it. Gabriel, first, before we get into Enforce Air and you know, how you're doing all of these amazing things out there, can you tell us a little bit about yourself first?
Yeah, absolutely. I come from the field of signal intelligence or tactical field operations and signal intelligence. I joined Defend about 4 years ago, and my job at the company is managing and directing pre-sales activities. So I get to spend lots of time with the customers out in the field. I get to answer all of their requests for information, all of their technical inquiries. And when we move on to later stages, after we've answered all their technical questions, I get to go out to their facilities or to their operational environments and demonstrate our capabilities or our systems features and capabilities to see how we can tailor suit our solution to meet their operational challenges. And it's a pleasure. That's what I get to do day in, day out, just travel around the world and operate counter UAS systems and our solution with its features and capabilities.
Well, I know for a fact personally also that every day out of the office is a good day, right? And the fact that you get out and about. So Gabriel, let's ask you this first to just kind of set the stage for what we're talking about today. I know with Asaf we talked a little bit about the threat, but I want to kind of talk about that for a minute or two before we get into Enforce Air and how to deploy these systems, you know, just to give the context. So what are you seeing out there? Like, how has the threat like kind of evolved or changed in your experience?
Well, really what I see out there in the field is that the threat is evolving. Drones are getting smaller, more accessible, more durable, right? So anybody can just purchase a drone commercially off the shelf and they can fly these drones longer distances. Some can even carry heavy payloads. And they can be used to cause, you know, nuisance or damage in many different areas and in many different domains. At Defend, or personally, I like to classify the drone risk, right, rather as a drone threat, into two main categories. Drones being used for malicious activities, right, whether, you know, it's a malicious actor who wants to put a payload on a drone for attack on a specific environment, or somebody using their drone for espionage or to carry contraband beyond borders or into correctional facilities, for example. And they can cause lots of damage and use drones in many different ways, which can cause damage or risk to specific operational environments. And you have another category which, isn't less dangerous, which are careless users. Just careless individuals, a boy or a girl, who are flying their drone in a careless manner, right? If it's next to an airport and it's approaching the takeoff and landing air corridors of an airplane because somebody wants to get cool footage, it can collide into a plane and cause lots of damage, or just around an environment at a major sporting event, which can, cause the crowd to go a little bit weary, or to steal sort of rights in the field of video and all that. So that's how drones are being used out there, and as they're advancing, so could the different potential risks or threats they can cause in the different operational environments in all these different domains. And as counter UAS, we have to get out there to provide situational awareness and countermeasures for those different, I would say, use cases or environments or sectors in that field.
Well, I love how you broke this down very basically to almost like those intentional and unintentional actors, if you will. And we're seeing so much of this lately, Gabriel. In the United States in particular, this has gotten significant attention lately. I think you and I had talked about this before. The United States Senate held a hearing on counter UAS with our Department of Homeland Security, our FAA, and our Department of Justice. And, we're on this cusp from a legal standpoint of the Preventing Emerging Threats Act of 2018 expiring next month, and new legislation on the table. By the way, everybody, if you want to track all this stuff, two good places. Number one, D-Fend has a really cool incident tracker on their website. I highly commend that to your attention. And number two, fun fact, I just authored an article for Inside Unmanned Systems magazine. Actually, D-Fend is featured in that piece, and we talk all about the different and evolving threats and their solution, and kind of all of these different legal issues that are out there. So check that out. That's going to be coming soon to an internet and maybe even a mailbox near you for the security edition, November, December. So stay tuned for more there. But Gabriel, I think we have a couple slides where if you could walk us through some of these different environments that you were mentioning, a whole range of sectors that have their own specific challenges, and basically how counter drone applies in them. So would you mind just kind of walking us through all the different sectors that you're employing your solution in?
Yeah, sure. Just to give, I guess, a quick overview, maybe we'll get into that later on. What we do here at D-Fend is we're able to detect rogue drones in an operational environment, and with the same system or the same hardware, we're providing an end-to-end solution that not only detects, tracks, classifies drones that are flying around an operational environment, but we're also able to safely mitigate the risk by either sending the drone back to its takeoff position or fully taking control over that drone and rerouting it to land at a predefined safe zone, with the immediate benefits of not jamming, so I'm not interfering with friendly communications in an operational environment. I'm non-kinetic, so I'm not shooting anything physical out into the air that can cause collateral damage, and I'm not dependent on line of sight because all I need is the RF reflection transmitted by the drone. So saying that, the way we approach different operational sectors is we first look at the operational environment when we're going out to deploy our solutions. And if it's an environment that requires a tactical approach, say we're protecting a major sporting event or just a major event where there's lots of crowd, and a specific outfit, I would say, law enforcement agency is required to protect that event from drone intrusions or for nuisance in that operational environment. The way we would approach that is we would provide a tactical solution that's able to be deployed in a matter of minutes on a stationary tripod or on a mobile platform with specific antennas, right? So we're going to provide that processing unit, the main unit of our system, and you can mix and match it with different tactical platforms and antennas. And the way we would approach, such an environment, we would deploy one system or multiple systems in that area, all connected to a centralized command and control to provide, detection abilities, tracking abilities of drones in that environment, and offer the forces that are utilizing the system an option to safely mitigate risks for drones that are flying in that area by taking control over them and rerouting them to land safely. And then if they would like, they can bring it back to the boy or girl flying their drone throughout that environment, because the system also provides the takeoff position of the drone as well as the pilot's position in that
I
given
want to I want
environment.
to back up for a second, Gabriel. Two things. One is you're using the term tactical, and that's an operational term, right? I was in the military for a while. I think you know that. But some of our watchers may not have, obviously have been, or maybe not in law enforcement where that term is used. What you're talking about there is more almost like situational, right? Like when you have the example here, a stadium, there's a football game, an NFL football game. You're going to temporarily deploy. They're not permanent fixtures. Is that right? Is that what you mean by tactical, like almost like situational?
Absolutely. So that would be perfect. Thank you for defining that and not in that terms. But yeah, it would be for a specific event where we would need to rapidly or quickly deploy that solution. And at the end of the event, after providing situational awareness and safe mitigation of threats at the event, you can then close up shop, pack up your systems, and be ready for the next event where you can then rapidly deploy. And another sector and environment would have fixed site installations, such as airports or facilities, where you would come to that area, conduct a site survey, install the systems permanently to operate 24/7, 365, providing that situational awareness and protection.
And we have this slide up now that kind of shows all the different deployment options. Now these can be, I'll just use a very non-technical term, can be kind of mix and match, plug and play, if you will. Like in a tactical scenario, I guess you could maybe need a vehicle as well as a ground level tactical unit, depending on that situation.
Absolutely. So I mean, that's what we do at pre-sales. We would get in touch with the customer, really try to understand the customer's pain points, like what are the challenges that they're facing in their operational environment. If they have the need to be mobile or move from place to place, as well as to provide stationary protection, we can mix and match our unit with different platforms and different antenna types so that we can, provide a customized, tailor-suited solution for those challenges. And if they would need fixed site installation, we can set up the system on dedicated brackets on a wall or on a pole, and that would just be permanently installed. So that's how we approach that realm, by providing a system and many different types of platforms and antenna form factors, so our customers can select and we can discuss the best and the optimal solution for their specific challenges and operational environment.
Got it, got it. And I know, by the way, there's people out there, Gabriel, because we can see them out there on LinkedIn and YouTube. And I want to just remind everybody that this is live. So you've got the expert here. Please go ahead and ask Gabriel your questions, drop them in the chat, or just tell us where you're from and give him positive encouragement. We love all of that. What I want to do next, Gabriel, is, if folks have never seen Enforce Air, kind of being set up and in action, I know we have a really cool video that you can walk us through and explain how this actually works. We just saw some of the different configurations. We talked about the threat and some of the different, ways that Enforce Air is employed. But why don't we just, as they say, a picture paints 1,000 words. So we could roll that video and then you can tell us what we're seeing here. That'd be awesome.
Sure. So this is an urban or crowded environment where our system is suited to operate. It's not just in rural environments. So let's just say we're protecting a major sporting event. The counter UAS operator would rapidly deploy the system. What you can see is the main unit being installed on a tripod and connected to a dedicated antenna with wide aperture, 40 degrees above and below, which is suited for high altitude deployments like a balcony or a rooftop. And then you connect to the system with a user display, a management display, which gives you that graphic user interface where you're able to set up areas of alert and an area that you wish to protect, somewhat of a no-fly zone for drones, where the operator can automatically define And what you see here are customized drones, two pilots operating customized drones and flying them. And what the operator sees is the full situational awareness, the drone type, class, make, and model, as well as where it came from and its prep. And what we've seen is the operator conducted a mitigation where it surgically commands the drone to disconnect from the pilot, and it reroutes that drone to land at a predefined safe landing zone so that the drone, it does not get back to its pilot, so the pilot can then cause more nuisance or further risk. Whereas
So
we
that's
keep
the
the
pilot
drone.
looking like, wait a minute, I can't, fly my drone right now.
Exactly, exactly. And we have the pilot's position. We know where the pilot is. So if we would like, we can either send tactical forces or, just, I would say, a police car to go up to that, pilot and say, no, you can't be flying your drone at this event. Or you can, just apprehend the drone if it came back again and again. We have the option to label drones as authorized and unauthorized, which is something, very unique to our system because we're able to uniquely identify each drone. You can have security and maintenance drones operating in the operational environment, and we're able to determine that those drones are authorized. Whereas a rogue drone, just as you've seen in the video, if that attempts to enter in to where the operator has defined as a no-fly zone, that drone and that drone alone will be mitigated without causing any interference to ongoing communications or other drones in the environment, which enables operational continuity. So you're really providing full situational awareness as well as the option to neutralize threats or risks or safely mitigate them without interfering with ongoing communications or GPS. Everybody has their cell coverage. No one loses their 4G and no one loses their GPS while you're safely mitigating drones at a given environment.
Well, yeah, I want to talk about a couple things, and the chat is starting to blow up, so we're going to address some of these questions here, Gabriel. So that's awesome. You know, that's I think what makes Defense Solutions counter UAS very unique is your kind of surgical cyber solution. And I mean, let's face it, some of the environments we're operating in. Let's just take that NFL game at a stadium. I mean, that there's a ton of antennas there, right? There's news media, there's all kinds of communications equipment at an event like that. You can't be messing with other people's communications and control systems during a live NFL event. So the fact that you're able to do this, I think, is very significant. There is a really valid question here. Let me see. I'll be specific about who asked it. We have let's see. Carolina Airshots is saying these are real-time kinetics, but also that equipment looks expensive. So let's talk about, because you're the pre-sales guy, let's talk about who can actually purchase this as a practical matter, at least in the United States, right? Because there's only a limited number of federal agencies that have the authority to do counter UAS. And critical infrastructure, and that's part of the law that's being proposed, right? So how does that work? Like, could Carolina Airshots call you up and say, hey, we'd like to buy one of these things for our own operations today? Or how would that work?
So, I mean, it's a really, really good question. Generally speaking, our customers require an end user certificate to use one of these, fancy schmancy systems, which is an end-to-end solution that both detects, tracks, classifies rogue drones, as well as offers the safe option to neutralize or mitigate it. And that's really where the end user certificate comes into play. But
Who
once that's
issues that,
provided,
Gabriel? Like, where are they getting that end user certificate? Is that like the Federal Communications Commission or the FAA or somewhere else?
no, that's them providing information about, themselves and that entity that's purchasing the equipment, and then we can get government authority to sell that equipment to them because what they're
Got
doing
you.
is that they're scanning the environment for drones, but taking control over someone's drone would require specific authority and regulation. So we have all of that in place. I'll touch on the technicalities of it and then the commercial aspect of, purchasing such equipment. But really the technical aspect of purchasing that equipment is we're providing full situational awareness of a given operational environment and the option to reroute someone's property and to land it at a predefined safe landing point or just safely send it back to its users. So it's not so simple, but when you talk about, I would say, major sporting events where the risk of damage is immense, you do have specific authorities related to Homeland Security and law enforcement who are able to operate such systems, especially when provided the option to neutralize the threat in a safe manner without interfering with ongoing or friendly communication. Then we're tested by entities such as the FAA to receive authorization to be deployed in an urban, environment. And if we talk about airports, or you brought up in the beginning that the equipment is expensive, so it's relative, right? If we have, I would say, airplanes that cannot take off because their drones operating and they're losing, or the airport is losing millions and millions of dollars on an hourly basis by
Yes.
freezing flights, then it's a cost issue. If they want to purchase a system that enables them to continuously conduct their operations and even neutralize threats without interfering with, the radars or the different communication antennas that are deployed there, then the cost really, it comes into play, and people are happy to pay a little bit in order to, save money in the longer run.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. And by the way, Gabriel, we've got Matt 417 saying, "Hey from Scotland." Very cool text. So, hey, Matt, thanks for jumping in. And then our buddy and yours, Zev Nedler, is saying he can't get enough. Can't say enough about how great it is to work with the D-Fend Solutions sales team. Very responsive, very in tune with prospect needs. Let's see, Ilana and the inimitable Michael Langman rock, and he has a few questions. Number one, do you work demos in the United States? And would you have met Zev at last week's rained out demo had it not been rained out?
So I operate out of Israel, and then I get to travel all over the world to conduct demos everywhere. But we have a dedicated team in the U.S. For ongoing activities over there. So I can talk about pre-sales there. They conduct tens and tens of demos, on a monthly basis. They're going around to all these different events, to customers' facilities, and also giving services out at, major sporting events or national events, to protect areas or environments, because little by little the world of counter UAS is becoming adapted to these different systems and capabilities and features, and different companies with different technologies provide different types of features and capabilities, and it's really an ongoing learning process, which is maturing little by little. And we've been out there for the past few years, and there's, tens and tens of events on a monthly basis, and the teams are out there. I don't know if they were at that rained out event or not, but hopefully they are, and they're at all the events out there.
Well, I'm going to deviate from Zev's got like two other questions from that for a second. You mentioned having teams out there to deploy the systems. Is that your model? Like, do you train the trainer for some of these folks and let them operate it, or is it always the D-Fend Solutions team, that goes out and actually operates the equipment?
Definitely, in most 99% of the time, we're going to sell the equipment to the customer. It's very easy to use. So in a matter of a couple of days, they're familiar with deploying the system. If it's a tactical or flexible or one at a time approach, as we mentioned before, then we'll teach them how to assemble it and disassemble it. It takes just a couple of hours to do that. Some theory, and we start flying some drones, and they get acquainted with the system and how it works. And after a day or two, they're able to fully operate the counter drone solution in a given operational environment. And if it's a fixed site, then we'll install the equipment. We'll teach the crew how to operate the system, what they're seeing out there, how to safely mitigate risks, and then they're good to go. So it's virtually a train the trainer, or it's just training the customer full out. And in a matter of a couple of days, they're able to operate these solutions so that not only can they detect or mitigate risks in an operational environment, but also enable safe drone activity, because that's what you talk about a lot on your podcast, and just enabling the skies to have more and more drones in them by being able to detect and safely mitigate rogue ones that are trying to interfere with
Now,
our friendly skies.
you mentioned, the setup, so I do want to ask you that too, Gabriel. How quickly can someone set this up? Like once they're trained and they know how to fit all the pieces and parts together, like how rapidly can the tactical unit, for example, be deployed?
So this goes into operational methodology. If I'm just sitting in my backyard and I want to assemble a single system, it'll take up to 5 minutes. You can just assemble it and connect it to power, either a standalone battery pack, or you can connect it to an active current source, and you're good to go for your ongoing operations. And if you are deploying the system at a more complex environment, or if you're deploying multiple systems in an operational environment, you want to connect it to a C2, then there's operational methodology that goes into that. It's not so simple, right? Because
I
even if
understand.
you're gonna, set up your Wi-Fi in your house, you really want to just make sure that you're putting that modem or router in the right area. So when you're in your bedroom or in the living room, you can get that good Wi-Fi for your Netflix. So when you're deploying systems at a major sporting event, it's recommended, and what we teach or recommend to the different customers who operate the systems is to go out on a site survey. We give a tool within our system that really helps you determine where the optimal position is to deploy each given sensor. So it really comes in aid for somebody who wants to rapidly deploy one system or multiple ones.
Yep.
Because if you're deploying it around this, a stadium in, New Jersey or New York, you have to take many things into consideration, right? Line of sight, you want to have it at a optimal position, and you want to avoid being right next to other strong emitting devices like a cell tower. So you do have to determine where you want to deploy them, and that's a lot of the time what takes more time than just simply deploying one. But it's pretty simple. In a matter of a couple of hours, you conduct the site survey, deploy the sensors, have all the information aggregated to one unified display, and you're good to go to protect your major sporting event.
Yeah, I mean, having been involved in some of those events, like at the United States Air Force Academy, big, football stadium, there's prep you can do like the day ahead. They have the big graduation, usually the president, the vice president, or some very big public figure there, right? So, there's prep like the day, 2 days before they can set things up. It's not like, the day of the game or something like that. But great questions here, Gabriel. I'm going to go back to Zev here in a second, but before I do, Carolina Airshots is making a good point, and I think it's accurate. It says, seems like it would be simple to just lock out drones in a TFR, a temporary flight restricted area, or force a landing if someone or a rogue, clueless, careless criminal drone enters that TFR area. So I think Carolina's got it right on the money there. Is that accurate?
Yeah, very, very much so. So when it comes to deploying these systems, what we usually do is we import a list of authorized drones, whether if it's connected to some type of government entity or government level C2 platform that has a list of authorized drones, and that really enables the system operator to classify and determine to say, okay, this one's coming up as authorized. So you can even give it a nickname. It belongs to the CNN team that's out there filming the game,
Yep, yep.
or just your security drone that's out there, because drones are used for many different applications and security is one of them. And that really allows you to determine which drones are rogue ones. And you can deploy the system autonomously, where you're saying, if it enters into this area, which I've defined as the protection area, then automatically conduct a safe mitigation on the single drones or the multiple drones that are attempting to enter into that airspace. Or you can offer a manual approach where the system operator would manually select each drone which is attempting to interfere or enter that defined protected area.
I love that, so many people think about liability, right, Gabriel, when they're talking about counter drone, because it's almost like I'm laughing because in the United States, there's actually been cases where someone's like burglarizing a house and somehow they get cut falling through the roof, like skylight or something, and they sue the homeowner. Right? So very litigious society, unfortunately, we live in here. I love the fact that you just take over the drone and safely land it. And like even going back to your video, the fact that, someone just, it landed on the roof in that safe zone and someone just picks it up. But to that point, Zeb asked this question that's maybe not so safe. So I'm going to ask it, are you considering offering a rifle-like device for use by prison guards when appropriate? I don't know that he means shooting things down, but maybe pinpointing with a rifle, like I'm just thinking of Star Wars, like laser something that maybe targets the cyber connection or something. I don't know what he's asking exactly, but is the
I think,
rifle-like thing
yeah,
something you're looking at?
I think I get where he's coming at. There's many different what they call radio frequency jamming rifles where you're not shooting a bullet, but you're just shooting out, you're emitting radio frequency and you're jamming the spectrum with a rifle that's, aimed in a specific direction.
Doesn't
And
that cause uncontrolled flight?
it could, it could. And in many cases, different operators have many different types of devices and technologies that are used for counter UAS. And I'm not one to say which one is better or worse, especially not on this platform. But what I could say is that there is an approach called a multi-layered counter UAS approach where, and we're very much pro this approach because we could provide our system, which does give you that end-to-end solution of detecting, tracking, classifying, and safe mitigation. But in cases, maybe operators are allowed or they're authorized to use these different types of jamming devices, and that's what they would like. Or perhaps our system doesn't yet offer a safe mitigation option because we can provide a scalable system and we continuously, I would say, teach it new protocols because new drones are coming out to the market every day. And that's where the holistic, multi-layered counter drone approach really comes into play, where you operate many different systems for detection and mitigation. And for Zev, I think for Zev's specific question, the answer is yes. We work alongside whether it's omnidirectional jammers or directional ones, where you can. I'm going to use the term tip and cue. You can really provide information which allows operators to point their, I would say, RF emitting rifle in the right direction because we're tracking the drone in a live manner, providing it with real-time GPS location, and then we can tip and cue the rifle or whatever the mitigation technology, if it's a kinetic one, to the right direction. And in many sectors and operational environments, that's the required and wanted approach.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. And, it's almost like everything in this industry, I think to the extent that you can collaborate, even with companies that, maybe at first blush, you'd say they're a competitor, right? But you collaborate with them, you're all bringing different technology to the table, to have one, as you call it, almost like an end-to-end solution, or you call it multi-layer defense. And certainly, by the way, Zev did clarify he's not talking about a kinetic type of option for mitigation there. He was talking about some kind of a disruptor. But, in a military environment, like you may want to very well have, a disruptor like that, even if it does cause uncontrolled flight, because you don't care where it lands, maybe, right? You just care about protecting your forces. So I guess that comes to mind then, Gabriel, is there's really no one size solution, one size fits all solution. And that's clear in how you've built out your, let's just call it counter UAS family of solutions. I want to talk for a second about the mobile one because I think that's really unique and interesting, the one that you put on a car. Because what we saw in the video was the rooftop kind of tactical unit. It's not hard to envision a place like, for example, a nuclear power plant that might want, a static and permanent presence of counter UAS at their facility. Tell us for a second about the mobile solution because I think that's one we didn't really highlight, and I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, sure thing. So, I mean, the best part of it is, if it's a really cold day or a really hot day, then, sitting in the AC is better than sitting outside, under the hot sun. So the vehicle is great sometimes because you could have it in a really luxurious, any type of, vehicle, whether small or big. If it's an SUV or just a little car, you can really, what we offer is a very flexible deployment option that doesn't require any tools. You can just set it up in different vehicles within minutes and you can go ahead and operate. But I would say if I had to tie it into use cases, because that's what we're talking about today, then the best
Yes.
one or one that would be appropriate is say you have a large border right? And you're not planning on deploying a full line of systems around the whole border, but you just want to have a patrol that's, whether it's one vehicle or multiple vehicles sending back information to a C2 platform. It really offers that flexibility where you can just drive along the border or drive to specific corridors where there's suspicious activity at a border. Let's just say there's contraband being smuggled beyond borders, some in a specific corridor which is used. You can make your way towards that area and deploy it within a vehicle. You can camouflage it, and then you can detect and track those drones. And if someone's attempting to smuggle in contraband, you can either just determine the position of that drone, or you can actually safely take control over it and apprehend the contraband so it doesn't go out onto the streets later. That would be one example.
Yeah, I'll tell you, that's a huge problem on the border. I remember hearkening back to that hearing I mentioned, the Senate hearing in June. They were talking about, I feel like it was 6 or 8 thousand cross-border drone incidents that CBP, Customs and Border Patrol, had logged in a relatively short period of time. I mean, that's significant. But speaking of, kind of these very kind of operational, tactical type operations, I recently came across an announcement, Gabriel, that D-Fend has integrated Enforce Air with I'm gonna butcher this, Syzygy and Light Eye. Did I say that right?
Yeah, you did.
Okay,
Syzygy
Syzygy.
and LiDAR.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, because we were
those are examples.
yeah, we were talking about the multi-layered defense. So I know we have an article we can drop on this, and I think we have some slides maybe to walk through, like what you were talking about with this partnership and this kind of multi-layered defense architecture.
Right, absolutely. So the best part about it is, as you were mentioning before, there's lots of different technologies that are out there. You do have competition if it's in the same, class. If there's another radio frequency cyber technology, then we're thrilled to go head to head because we believe we have the best one. But when it comes to the holistic counter UAS approach, there's no one silver bullet, and it really does require to listen to the customers, to really understand their pain points. So when I get to go out there to meet them, I'm not just saying, oh yeah, take my system, it's going to cover all of your threats and it's going to provide you everything that you need. We really
Right.
demonstrate its capabilities, and the customer is able to determine its features, its benefits, and more importantly, its limitations, so that they know how to integrate it into, let's just say a symphony of systems, right? And what open architecture means is that we can provide our system, we provide our application program interface. So it's a virtual menu where customers can read and can give commands to the system, and that way it allows them to integrate it into either their suite of devices, or if it's the Syzygy snap boxes, which allow us to send our information to a government level C2 called TAC, Tactical Awareness Kit, which really, it's a data sharing platform and for situational awareness that aggregates information from many different technologies and provides law enforcement and homeland security operators with a very visual aggregated display from many different sensors. And one of the sensors that are now integrated into that via Syzygy is our Enforce Air system, where now an operator can connect from anywhere, from an Android device or from a cloud server, and also see detected drones and have the option to safely mitigate them from their platform. And that really speaks a lot about, having that full situational awareness, using many different devices and technologies out there for the counter UAS or counter drone approach, so that we can provide safe airspaces just by connecting to these government level C2 platforms. And LiDAR is an example of just a multi-layered system platform where our Enforce Air is part of that, where we provide our information for detection along with other technologies like radars or EOI, our cameras. And our technology is also used for safe mitigation alongside radio frequency jammers and different kinetic systems to really provide that full holistic counter UAS, multi-layered system.
That's amazing. I mean, I've been in the background watching Light Eye for a while. I believe they're up in Centennial, Colorado. Like they're like 30 minutes from my house. So that's really, really cool. I didn't ask you, Gabriel, how many drones at one time can Enforce Air kind of detect and track, just at any one given moment?
So we've been at events virtually unlimited amount of drones are able to be detected and tracked because it's a radio frequency cyber system. So the moment it detects that transmission from a drone, it dives deeper into the protocol between the drone and its controller and extracts that information. So whether there's 5, 10, 15 drones out there, you're detecting them and you're classifying each one by its unique identification and just providing that full situational awareness. In terms of safe mitigation, it's consecutive, but also virtually an unlimited amount where you can take control over one, and once it's reprogrammed to fly that safe route, you move over to reprogram or take control over the other. So it's fine if they're all just flying in your environment, but if you have 20, 30 drones coming at you, our consecutive approach, may be a little bit slow in cases, and that's where the multi-layered counter-UAS approach really comes into play, where we can take control over 5, 10, 15. I haven't seen that yet in an operational environment. The most I've seen in one area was about 12, and it was successfully tracking them and taking control over them. But in any case, yeah, virtually unlimited. And if there's a necessity to take control over 50 or 60, you can deploy multiple systems or be implemented and integrated into a multi-layered counter-UAS solution.
Yeah, and we are getting so close to our time, but this is a really great question. So I'm gonna fire two at you pretty quickly here, Gabriel, and then we're gonna tell everybody how they can reach you. Um, can it detect analog or non-GPS drones? I know the answer, but not everybody out there does. So could you tell them the answer to that one?
Yeah, it's a library-based solution. So once we implement a protocol or radio transmission into it, we're able to detect it and track it. If it's not emitting or transmitting any GPS coordinates, like most of the drones do, then you're just going to detect it, but you're not going to be able to track it because there's no GPS position, and we're not calculating any direction finding because we're not that type of sensor. So the short answer is we're able to detect what we teach it to detect. And if there's no GPS being transmitted, it's going to be detected but not tracked.
And once again, that multi-layered defense, that's when these kind of partnerships that we're talking about with Light Eye and other companies become really significant. So many, many limitations we see in other counter drone solutions with regards to friendly drones. I know we talked about how yours is very kind of laser focused, doesn't impact those, but I believe we have a quick slide before we end the show to talk about how your Enforce Air deals with the friendlies.
Well, really, I mean, it's the name of the game in many different operational domains or safe cities. But if we were to take this conversation not towards the defense or military environments, right? But we're really looking at these safe cities where you want to enable drone technologies to continuously operate safely, then it's of utmost importance to be able to differentiate or determine which drones are operating as authorized and flying in a safe manner and which ones are rogue. And it's a unique capability which is super important. Whether you're integrated into a government level UTM, a UAS traffic management system that has those air taxis or drones in the box implemented into them where they already have the information of their whereabouts, or if it's just one of those maintenance or security or network CNN drones that are flying in an area, you want to determine that those are safe to fly and authorized while having the capabilities to not only track and classify unauthorized drones, but also safely mitigate them and either reroute them or just send them back to their takeoff position without affecting the authorized drones in their operation, so we can enable safe skies and for drone technology to continuously evolve.
Well, enabling safe skies is what it's all about. And that's why I started this podcast with the fact that, and I'm calling it a fact, right? That counter drone technology is actually a very viable and important market use case for drone technology as well. And So I can't believe our time here has flown, Gabriel. How do people reach you? How do they find out more about D-Fend?
They can get in touch. They can look at the website. They can get in touch with D-Fend, and if they have any technical questions, the sales representatives will know how to get, to me, and I can provide all the technical information that's necessary. You can ask for a demo, and then we can meet face to face, and we can, demonstrate the system and show its capabilities and features in a live manner if that's something that's required. And yeah, and look at the website, get in touch, and that's it.
Well, wow, what a spectacular way to end this month of incredible market use cases. Thank you so much, Gabriel and Defense Solutions. We just finished part 2 of a 3-part series. We'll see you guys back again in a month or so. Everybody stay tuned. And we wanted to once again, real quick, thank Global Aerial Management Group, Prestige Air Group for sponsoring this entire month of market use cases. And next month, we transition to industry enablers. I mean, Gabriel, you guys clearly fit in that category as well. So with D-Fend Solutions, thank you again. Have a wonderful end to your week, and everybody else, we are out here.